Hey guys, welcome back. We're going to review the Predator franchise for this video today. And I actually really liked the franchise for the most part. I think there were some weak points in the later ones. But for this franchise review, I am going to go ahead and start off by specifying that I have not seen the Alien vs. Predator movies. This is because for Predator, there was the 4-movie collection that I had purchased. And just for Christmas, I got Alien vs. Predator. So, from what I have heard, is that the Alien vs. Predator movies aren't necessarily part of a finite continuity between the two franchises. It's kind of its own thing. So, for the sake of my viewing experience, I'm going to watch the Predator movies, which I have now, watch the Alien movies, and then watch the Alien vs. Predator 2 movies. And then I'll review them both later on. So, when I say the Predator franchise is going to be the first 4 movies. So, we have the official Predator 4-movie collection, which will be the ones I'm reviewing today. So, for this set, obviously this is in 4K, which it looks great. The original Predator looks great. And this is sort of like Harry Potter said, it's sort of like others where it comes with the 4K discs and the Blu-ray discs inside. But this one also comes with these art cards, which is pretty cool as well. It comes with a poster from from the 4 movies. And then, not only that, it's also come with a quote from these movies. So I'll show you that for each of them. And then obviously. So, having these physical items come with a collection like this is always pretty neat. Especially as a physical collector, it's nice to have something else, just some little something coming with your movie. So it's pretty nice. So we're going to start with the first one. This is going to be similar to the Jaws franchise review. There are 4 of them. The first was a classic. The sequels, So let's dive into it. The first one obviously is a classic. The less is more approach is established very well in this movie, which isn't too dissimilar to Jaws, but I just mentioned that because that's my last video. So for Predator, the less is more approach is what worked, and this movie sort of starts off with some action as well. This is definitely an action movie, but it also has its horror elements as well, while still being violent. And so Schwarzenegger obviously is lead for this movie, and just hearing his name, he's been in so many movies, and I know he was in the original Predator. So the biggest surprise to me in this franchise is seeing that he wasn't in the sequel. I never knew. I should have known that, I just didn't. So I'll get to that when we start reviewing the second one. So for the first one, I absolutely loved it. I thought it was great action. They had a great cast. It was an interesting story. The action keeps you on your feet. The suspense was, I think it was well paced. The build up for it all. The showdown was obviously fantastic. I love how they ended it. I loved how they sort of the showmanship of what's next when you see the Predator, when you see him without his mask. Everything they did, I thought, was just on point into establishing a classic. And obviously so, it spawned a franchise from it. And so I really like the first one a lot, and I don't think it's any surprise when I say that the first one remains the best one in the franchise. I don't know if they're doing another Predator movie. I know Prey is technically the latest one, and I think they are doing another movie as a follow-up to Prey, which I haven't seen that one yet. But as far as these movies are concerned, I don't know if they'll have a movie that is better than the original, even though I have heard great things about Prey. So, the first one's a classic, there's no doubt about it. Let's see what the next ones are about. The second one obviously doesn't have their main lead, which surprised me. So, the thing that was almost frustrating with this franchise, which made it difficult to be involved with these characters, to get invested with these characters, is no character went from one movie to the next. It was always a brand new set of characters. And I guess that's fine for some franchises. I just thought this movie would have been better off if Schwarzenegger had been in the sequel, or maybe some of the others, but he just never was, and that's just, it is what it is. So the action there's almost more action in this one than the first one, almost. Um, it just starts off with this giant citywide shootout, and from the beginning of the movie, we see Predator hunting people down. And so this movie sort of picks up with the crime in LA. It's all in Los Angeles, which is a big jump from the first one, having this hunt in the jungle to hunting in the big city. So I thought the style for changing the atmosphere and surroundings and background for these characters in this movie, I thought it was a smart choice for a sequel, because you can still have Predator do his thing while it feeling a little bit new, but still have the similar tactics. Predator versus the people, it still felt familiar, while it was something fresh and new at the same time. So I appreciated that about the second movie. And I thought the main actor, he played a very likable character. He was just about the only likable character in this movie, pretty much. There's a lot of people just sort of dismissing what's going on, or dismissing one character or another. And so he was sort of the only character to root for, which I thought was fine. But it also, even though this movie almost kind of was a slasher, having one-by-one characters dwindling, a slasher also works if you can be invested in more than one character and then be surprised and affected when one character dies. That just wasn't the case in this movie, because you are really only invested in one character. So overall, I did think the second one's pretty good. The ending had a pretty good cliffhanger. While he's searching for Predator, he ends up in Predator's ship. And while he has his final face-off, he does kill the Predator, only to realize there are now multiple of them that show up to take the first one's body away. And so now there are multiple Predators. He finally makes off the ship just in time before it takes off, seemingly to leave Earth forever. And so it was very interesting. It was a very neat climactic ending for what was, I want to say, it was about a 30-minute showdown. It feels like, from him versus Predator, from the settings. It felt like a long ending, which is about almost a fourth of the movie, but I thought it worked, because by the time you got to those two characters, you could really have the intensity build up, and I think they did it well, pacing the intense moments, spreading it out throughout the remainder of the runtime. So I thought what they did was pretty good. I liked it a lot. And obviously, this cliffhanger was a memorable one. So I think it was a pretty decent sequel. I didn't like it better than the first one, but I thought it was pretty good. And so that brings us to Predators. This is the next sequel. And so this one makes the jump. It's 2010 by the time they make another one. So for Predators, it took a while to get invested. They had a cast where you recognize everyone from something. It was just one of those kinds of casts. And it was fascinating at first to sort of see, okay, so this is going to be really dynamic group, having a bunch of different kinds of acting styles and characters and all of that. But the mix didn't last very long. When it had some action toward the beginning with creatures that weren't predators, going after them, it sort of took, I felt, about 40 to 45 minutes to see a predator, which you see Predator very early on in the first movie and pretty early on, basically right at the beginning of the second one. So for the third to take so long, about 40 to 45 minutes in, the movie, I believe, is an hour 45 to an hour and 50 minutes. So over a third of your whole film's runtime not having any Predator characters, I thought, was a weak point for that one. And so even though they did have an interesting cast, everyone was sort of crappy characters. I mean, you have one character that's joking about rape. So I don't think really any of these characters were worth investing into, except for the main girl. She was like the only one with a conscience, it seems. And so in this movie, I really struggled to be personally invested in the main characters. And when you're not invested in main characters, then you want to root for the cool bad guy. When the cool bad guy has extremely minimal screen time at all, you're left almost bored. And I kind of was almost bored. They did ramp up the action a little bit by adding Lawrence Fishburne. He showed up in the movie, which was a surprise appearance, but then he didn't really last, but felt like 5, maybe 10 minutes. And so his entrance was short-lived. And so this movie just struggled for me to care about what's going on, which was really unfortunate because I thought the filming looked great. The camera work I thought was neat. The plot was definitely intriguing, being on a different planet where they sort of take these people and then go hunt, which we've seen in Star Trek, we've seen in Star Wars, long before 2010. And so, although the concept as a whole wasn't entirely original, it was interesting to see within this franchise. But unfortunately, not having really anyone to be invested in, I think this just ultimately became a forgettable sequel. It was an interesting watch, but this isn't the movie that comes to mind when I think of the Predator movies. So the movie was okay. We move on to The Predator, which is the latest one besides Prey. This movie I thought was, it came out in 2018, so a long ways from the original. It certainly feels like a modern Predator movie, which wasn't necessarily the best thing. I definitely personally felt this one was the weakest one. It's similar to the third in terms of most of the characters are unlikable. You have this guy that witnesses Predator, but then he's sent off to prison basically because he witnessed it, and then he's on this bus with these other characters and they're all unlikable too. And so Olivia Munn, her character is brought on to sort of be the scientist character to investigate what's going on with this Predator body they found. And so pretty much when she gets there, Predator wakes up and starts attacking the place. She survives. The other guys from the prison bus find her. She joins them. And so now you have this ragtag group of characters where her character's, again, really the only likable one. So when you have one character in a group of 10, and supposed to be a slasher, it's good that we at least had one character to be invested in, but it was also the only character to be invested in. So again, it was unfortunate that that's all we had. I thought the plot felt like they were really trying way too hard with some dramatic, over-the-top culmination of years of the Predator franchise kind of plot. So first of all, a kid puts on the helmet and just discovers the entirety of the Predator's technology, which I thought was a little difficult to sort of process at first. Even though the kid, we've had super smart kid characters in movies, but I thought for what was in the first and sort of the second one, a very grounded humans versus an alien kind of character franchise, I just thought this was a little lazy, just for a reason to have another Predator show up who's bigger and better and faster and stronger. The Predator, hence the name of the movie. And so as about the midway point of the movie happens, I believe, when the Predator kills the first one, seeing the size comparison where this one is so much bigger, they also have one of those Predator dogs that's following them around, not killing because plot for some reason. And so we have this these ragtag group of characters who realizes the main guy sent the helmet to his kid. They have to go find the kid. And then they find the kid. But then the Predator's after the helmet. And the government's after them. So they have to try to escape. And it felt like everything goes wrong for this group, but they always make it out of it just by the skin of their teeth. Only to, I don't really know what they're doing. They should have just left the helmet behind and forget about it, but they still wanted to hold on to the helmet just because, I guess. And so as the plot moves, all of these characters, the Predator, the government, and this group of characters, they all make it to the Predator spaceship. And all these characters are meeting up, and there's sort of this showdown because the Predator wants to destroy the ship, which was the first one's ship. But then he also has another ship. And so the battle takes place from this ship that then gets blown up to the woods where we trim down our characters to then this one ship taking off where the characters, our human characters left, literally jump off a cliff, landing on a moving spaceship, and they're just holding on. I get it, sci-fi movies don't always have the most grounded or realistic physics. I just thought jumping off the cliff onto a moving spaceship was just a little bit much for me. We did dwindle down from 3 characters back down to 1 at this point with this group that dives off the cliff. And so the movie kept raising the stakes and raising the stakes and raising the stakes because, you know, the Predator's the biggest and the baddest, and there's few characters left. There's hardly anyone to take him down. But they beat him overall in the end. And so this movie just felt like there was so much going on and so many different themes and concepts and too much Earth blending with space, technology and characters and warfare. It just felt really confusing to sort of grasp the entirety of the plot. So unfortunately, The Predator, I do feel, is the weakest one in this franchise of 4, even though I know it isn't the franchise in its entirety. For the sake of this video, it is, because I will watch and review Prey separately, along with the Alien vs. Predator movies. So for this franchise, it is pretty exciting. I do like them for the most part. I definitely think the first 2 were a lot better than the 3rd and the 4th one. But overall, it's a neat set to have. Got neat visuals, like I said. The first one and the second one have amazing visuals. It looks great on 4K. I thought the transfer was pretty good. It was neat. It was fascinating. So I like this franchise. I'm looking forward to seeing what they're going to do next. I know that the sequel, I believe, to Prey is the next one. I could be wrong, but I believe that's the next project that they're working on. So we'll see where it goes. If you haven't checked out the franchise before, I would at least watch the first one. It is a classic. It does hold its weight and its reputation. Everything you hear about it is just, everything you hear about it sort of, it proves itself. It proves its worth for being a classic that it is. So I would at least check out that one if you're skeptical, at least, of the sequels. I like the franchise. Thank you guys for sticking with me for me reviewing this franchise. I can't wait to put out more content. I'm going to start the new year with more and more videos. And like I said in the last video, I'm hoping we can get to 300 this year. I don't know when it's going to happen, but we're going to work toward it. Again, thanks for sticking with me. Keep it digging. I'll see you next time.